Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. Welcome to the webinar. Please stand by. The webinar will begin. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. It's just about time to start today's office hours webinar. Before we get started, let me know in the questions panel if you can hear me and see that first slide okay. All right, thank you, Randy. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, friends. Thanks, Lady, Jeff, CD, Colin, and everyone. So before we get started, do you have an active Trade Ideas subscription with us? Yes or no? The poll is up on your screen. We ask some of these questions before our afternoon webinars. Just lets us know what the mix in the room is like. So go ahead and reply there with your click. And take the opportunity to remind everyone that you're muted. You need to use the questions panel to interact with us. So if you have a question, just go ahead and use that questions panel. If you want to see the question demonstrated or you want to see the answer demonstrated during the webinar, you might want to wait till the presenters are taking questions from the audience. That way they won't miss it. Otherwise, just ask away. So it looks like close to 60%, about 57% of those self-reporting have subscriptions. Welcome. Also, welcome to all of you that don't. If you have any questions about them, just feel free to ask. Keep in mind, we do give a promotional code, discount code out later on in the webinar, so stay tuned for that. It'll let you start up a new subscription and save some cash. For the subscribers in the room, do you currently have regular Trade Ideas or premium Trade Ideas? If you're not familiar with the difference, premium is the version that gives you access to the AIs, AI channels, the odds maker backtesting tool, the ability to auto trade AI strategies with participating brokers, open extra charting windows, the RBI, GBI advanced windows, all that kind of good stuff. All right, so it looks like we have a small majority of non-premium subscribers. Most of you are in the room today are self-reporting as standard. If you decide you want to do that upgrade to premium, grab the code we give out later on, and you can use that on your first installment of your premium upgrade. And a little follow-up for today. We sometimes get a lot of questions about automating your trading or using Brokerage Plus. Would you like to see more Brokerage Plus and automation content during our daily webinars? Yes or no? All right. So it looks like we've got a majority saying they would like to see more Brokerage Plus content and automation information. Your hosts today, as usual, on Mondays are Jamie Hodge and Steve Gomez. My name's Scott. I'll help out where I can. We're going to record this and have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow on our YouTube channel. You get an email tomorrow with a reminder about how to find it. And I'm going to go ahead and kick off the recording and let Jamie and Steve begin the presentation. Hey, how was your Monday today?
Hey, Scott. Thank you very much. Yes, it was a Monday. Steve, how you doing?
It felt like a Monday, but this new stand-up desk is nice. It keeps me on my toes, so to speak.
Yeah, and interesting you would say that, Steve. Mine got delivered on Friday. I've just been too lazy to set it up, but I have high hopes of getting that done in the next 4 or 5 days. Anyway,
I believe in you.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Office Hours. I'll be your host today, Jamie Hodge, and of course, I've got my wingman, Steve Gomez, in here as always on Mondays. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to pop in and hear what we have to say. Today is January 11th, so before we get started, just a quick moment to go over the disclaimer here. Just want to make sure everybody in attendance is aware of the fact that all the info that we share with everybody is for educational purposes only. What does that really mean? That means if you need someone to tell you what to do, where to invest, what to buy, when to sell it, all that good stuff. If you need investment advice, please seek out a registered investment advisor or another licensed individual, somebody like a Series 7 licensed stockbroker, just somebody that's licensed to dispense that type of information, because all we're doing here, showing you guys some neat tricks, tips about the software, maybe some cool chart patterns. But once again, it is for educational purposes only. Always like to take just a little bit of time here at the top of the hour to let everybody know about the community that we've built around the technology that is Trade Ideas. All kind of starts up here in the upper left-hand corner. There's my pin. I was wondering where it was. The Trading Room, hosted by Mr. Barry Anderson. Barry opens the doors 30 minutes before every open. It is a great place to be, not only to hear Barry and what he's doing in there, which he does a great job at moderating a room of anywhere between 3, 4, sometimes 500 people in there. But you're going to have traders from all levels in there, beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Barry does a fantastic job at showcasing the way he uses the technology as well as his trading style. Great part about it, other than Barry, is the price, which is free. So if you haven't been taking advantage of the Trading Room, by all means, get in there and do that. Mondays, you're always going to have myself and Steve. Steve's going to take the steering wheel on Tuesdays for the trade of the week. Andy Lindloff's going to ride shotgun with Steve on Tuesdays. Wednesday rolls around. We like to change it up just a little bit, bring in our CEO and founder, Dan Merkin, along with our Chief Technical Officer, Brad Williams. Always interesting with those two, typically giving you a peek at new features coming down the pipeline. And he's going to round out the 5 p.m. Eastern webinars on Thursdays with the Trading Studio. And I ride shotgun with him on Thursdays. And of course, our ever popular daily support session every Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Now on the next slide here, you'll see how to get to that daily support session. Just trade-ideas.com/live. Once you get there, you can bookmark that URL because it's a static address, and you can get there every time just by clicking on your bookmark, the daily support session. Great place for, having something right in front of you with a visual, with one of us guys typically in there, a different person every day. But it's a great place to get live support, anything TI related, in live time with a nice visual up there as well. In addition to that, especially if you're relatively new to the product, we've got a great course, a 4-part video series here called Trade Ideas University, 101 through 401. This will help you get over the learning curve quicker as opposed to later. And you can find this video or this series of videos on our YouTube channel, along with a plethora of other educational and informative videos. Of course, accounts are on the rise. Big orange bar there in 2020. We would expect to see probably an engulfing candle come the end of 2021 here as well. Pop all new time highs according to the pace that we're currently on. January 2016 was an interesting year, not only because our user base expanded, but that was the year that we brought the first AI module online. Now we've got a total of 3, and hopefully before too long, I know it's been bandied about for a very long time now, but still have a swing trading version of the AI in the works, just not ready for prime time yet. But hopefully keep our fingers crossed, and maybe by the end of Q1 this year, we might see that module emerge. In addition to that, hopefully, by the time that Q1 is done, we will see Brokerage Plus ported to E-Trade and Ameritrade as well, getting us entry into the $0 broker-dealer commission structure there, since we're currently only linked to Interactive Brokers as far as Brokerage Plus activity goes. That's going to be a very exciting time. It's going to make a lot of strategies that weren't feasible because of commission cost potentially feasible again. So we're just waiting for that little treasure chest to be opened, and hopefully sooner than later. All right, and here we are at today's agenda. So I see a lot of questions rolling in here already. Let me know if I need to answer anything real quick here, Steve, before I kick it over to you. But as always, it's time to take a look at the broader tracking ETFs. And typically that is Steve's cue here. So Steve, if you're ready, I'll go ahead and
Sure.
kick it on over to you.
I see Michael's question. I'm not sure which videos he was looking for, but I'm going to respond with our YouTube channel there. Those are going to be all the other videos. The question was, where do I sign up? It only gives me the option for a Monday only session. I want to be a bit more specific, Michael. I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your question. All right, so where we are we on my screen yet?
I believe so, sir.
Okay, there we go. Great. Hang on one second. All right, so welcome to my desktop. Yes, we're going to talk about the market in general, market backdrop. Not a whole lot to say. I mean, honestly, Jamie, I don't have a whole lot to say today, except it's just more of the same, kind of an upward grind. We probably got a little bit ahead of ourselves here, maybe looking for some consolidation. Who knows? I mean, I'm seeing some weird stuff out there and the underpinnings of other things, but nothing really to try and transcribe onto these bigger index charts as they are. But there is one thing I wanted to bring up as I was going through these charts here. Why does everybody start hitting me up the minute I go live? Thank you. All right. The Qs, all right, same kind of thing. They had a bit more of a pullback today, a little bit of a red candle, but still same kind of a look over there in NASDAQ land and tech land. But I did notice this, and I'm going to bring up my 15-minute chart. On about a month ago, I did a webinar on what we call the 130 filter. There's a filter in there called 130, and then you take 15-minute candles times 130, and you divide them. You get a 5-day rolling average on the 15-minute chart. Look at that. So that blue line is something I have been using as of late. And I think if you see it, you might actually start to realize why I have been using it. Kind of shows, again, on the 15-minute time perspective, who's in charge, the buyers, or back here, the sellers were kind of in charge. And then on Friday, buyers took control again. And then we're gravitating back to this kind of rolling, meandering 5-day moving average again, which is nothing more than 15-minute candles over the course of 5 days, 130 candles in there in that mix. So there's the spot right there. I guess the late day selling that came in was naturally bought by that number right there. And again, let me just show you, if you guys want to pop this on your screen, it's a perfect opportunity to show you how I did it. Indicators. All right. I've got the indicator. There it is, the 130. All you have to do is go to put an SMA in on a 15-minute chart, mind you, is where I am. Put the period at 130, and it's going to give you that beautiful 5-day rolling moving average. And sometimes it really does start to show up and make sense in things. But that's what the NASDAQ looks like. So there's really not much to say. It's just kind of more of the same. Sometimes complacent markets can be the ones that can jump out and grab you when a black swan comes and you have no idea where it came from. But I'm not predicting that. Just saying keep your powder dry. It's always nice to have a little bit of cash on hand if you see something you need to buy. But there's really no change, no harm, no foul in the footprints in the sand that we see here so far, Jamie. That's really all I got today.
So the uptrend remains intact, is what you're saying.
Uptrend remains intact, and if you want to get a little tricky about it, that 130 period can sometimes show you some indications as to where buyers and sellers might show up.
Very interesting, sir. Thank you for that. All right, let me get the mic back here.
Oh, yes, and thank you, Sam, for the trade of the week. I guess I'm a hero again this week after not being a hero after last trade of the weeks.
But the hero status very much outweighs the non-hero status across the board. That was a very nice trade.
Yeah, we'll talk about it much more tomorrow when we have another day's worth of data as well. So thank you, Sam.
All right, ladies and gents, onward. Here we go. Okay, so as Steve was pointing out, not a whole lot to write home about as far as just overall market action today. We have a small little gap down, CC readings weren't anything to get too excited about today. As we can see right here, my compare count window that I like to consult 15 minutes after every open, which is simply looking at the larger cap stocks in excess of a $4 billion market cap, and keeps count of the ones hitting highs and lows in that opening 15-minute period. And typically, if I don't see anything, I like to see a bias of 55% or higher. The higher above 55, the more credence I typically pay to it. And as you can see today, we had a little 52% downside bias there. So especially since we are trending higher, when you have weak readings like this, well, then you just have to go, well, if I'm going to do anything today, it's probably going to be on the long side. The AI did try several shorts today. Not too much luck on those. A little bit, but not as much as one would think because of what the market did. We did have that little gap down, but we just grinded back up, almost getting the whole thing back before giving up a little bit more going into the close. So the compare counts in a nutshell today, not the biggest help. All right, but that's typical. It can't be the holy grail all the time, but it is sometimes. Holly recap. Once again, not the best performance from Holly today, but a few notables. We had a total of 12 signals, as we can see from the channel bar over here. 4 from NEO, 2.0 relatively quiet today with only 1 signal, and Holly AI, the 1.0 original AI, the OG AI, kicking out 7 signals and just being down a smidge here. And keep in mind, all of these totals here are based on taking 100 shares of each trade that was generated. Now, the values that you're going to see on my AI blotter are based around a risk value of $100 per trade. Okay, so they're going to be they're going to be different than what you see over here, just in case anybody is wondering why those numbers don't match up there. And typically what we like to do is go over the stocks that developed decent spreads by the close of conservative profit and moderate profit. Now, as you can see, the first guy at the top of the list here, the ODP, this is the only decent spread that I saw today. Of course, we have a couple more in BMRN and IPHI, which were one was a long, one was a short, but only $78 and $21 respectively. Not the largest spreads. Even this $147 spread isn't that big compared to what we can normally see on a more active and more productive day. But let's just go ahead and take a look at the ODP trade. All right, so ODP enjoying a nice little gap up, and the AI signaling a buy signal pretty in the first hour here. As we can see, ODP about 40 minutes in, 9:10 Central Standard Time on this third 15-minute candle here. So notice the shaded area. This is the time spent in the trade in conservative mode. And what do we have there? We got a big goose egg. Why is that? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, about an hour later, Holly decides to use a profit save, but in essence, it was a flat. The longer that the AI is in a trade and it's not heading in the direction, the more likely the AI is to execute a profit save or a reduce risk, which, by the way, those are 2 of the reasons why the AI can close a trade out in conservative mode: profit save and reduce risk. The other 3 factors are profit target was hit, stop loss was hit, or the timed hold expired. Of course, on this one, we can see over here, it was the profit save. So in essence, we can just say, you know what? It got bored. I've done this many times myself. I'm going to go ahead and flat it instead of lose money, only to have the thing do what you hoped it would do a little bit later. I think we've all been there, done that before, and probably will do that in the future. It's just sometimes what happens. However, we can learn a little bit by watching Holly do these things and sometimes capitalize off of them. So once again, we get the signal here, just toes the line, ebbs and flows right around that signal. All we had to do here is go, I've seen this song and dance before. And of course, before this, let's just signal came way back here. So none of the chart had materialized thus far. Draw a line across. This is typical. This is common. Okay, so we get into it and we go sideways all the time. Once you get used to seeing this, you can think to yourself, okay, well, we put a high in, and I guess I need to adjust my line here because, well, if it'll give it to me, there we go. Because the high of that, I didn't see that wick there. And the high, where'd my data go? Let's see if I can get it back up here. All right, the high there was 43.25. So technically, we didn't get out of there until this little candle right here. And it didn't do it with a whole lot of oomph, okay? This little guy right here. So normally, when I see something like this developing, I'm thinking to myself, well, hey, number one, we've got good statistical probability on our side right off the bat because the AI is bringing it to us. Now, after we see these bars start to develop, we can think to ourselves, okay, if it gets up here and breaks out with a little bit of oomph, well, we might have an auxiliary pattern play out on top of that in the form of an opening range break. Of course, it tried it right here, then it went back to sleep for a little while, and then boom, got it again right here, and then finally made the move. So this would have been an excellent time, either here, you just would have had to wait a little bit longer, been down a smidge on your add-on, but either here or here would have been an excellent time to add on to the AI's position before we got the biggest move of the day, before going back down again, and then basically finishing right at the highs of the day or tapping out one more time, giving back a little bit in the prior 15 minutes. But kind of a lazy trade, but hey, it did what it was supposed to. So in a nutshell, all we had to do is ignore the profit save signal, think to ourselves, you know what? We've been ebbing and flowing around the entry line, came kind of close to the stop, which wasn't that big of a stop to begin with, but never got down to it. So that gives us confidence to add on either here or here. So whether you add it on once, twice, or just set with what you got, you did a lot better ignoring Holly's exit signal and just waiting for the thing to hopefully do what it was supposed to. So that's what we got going in ODP there. Take a look at another one here. Once again, the spread's starting to decline rapidly here. Of course, this was a short sell in BMRN. Holly, once again, closing the trade out for a flat in profit save mode. Entry right here. We get a little down push. Of course, this one's kind of hard to peg as to why the AI closed it out here, since it was starting to edge down, right? 82.35. We get the profit save right here. Must have took a little jerk back up or jerk up eventually. And then as we got back down to the entry line, that's when she decided to close it out with the profit save. But once again, just like the other one, we could have played the game that we played earlier on the long one and said, you know what? If it goes down here and breaks, I might want to put a little bit more on. Looking at the daily over here, looks like it had a little bit of room, but that looks like the bottom was put in about 30 minutes after Holly got out. But little regression back through the entry line, not quite up to the stop, and then whoosh all the way back down and punching knee lows at the close. So, you know, anytime this happens, it's going to be hard to sit in that thing. You know, we're in the money. Now we're through the stop line again. Now we're almost stopped out. Of course, hindsight is always 20/20. But once again, that's what hard stops are for. So once you make your decision, either go with Holly on the exit or stick with it. In this case, even though it would have come close to getting us out, that stop loss was never triggered, and we finished lower on the day. Once again, risking $100, ended up making $72 or $78.20, but having to hold it all day and sit the wiggle, you know, just kind of a testament to the day in and of itself. Speaking of, how did we finish on relative volume today? Just barely normal volume on that SPY, coming in at 1.04. Other than that, we did have a little bit of spread here in IPHI. Once again, nothing to write home about. However, I do believe I saw Sean McLaughlin add IPHI to his curated Holly watch list for potentially good swing trades. So when we look over here at IPHI, it is just not too far away. Let's see if that's ATH. Hold on one sec. Not sure about that. Just want to confirm. Yep. Here's a weekly chart, and I do believe it's just not too far away from all-time high. So Sean takes all the AI plays and curates his own list for ones that are good swing trades. So if you'd like to keep up with that activity, you can always follow Sean on Twitter. He is at Chicago Sean, curating what he believes are the good swing trades that were produced by Holly AI on an intraday basis, and then he'll review the longer term charts. So other than that, typically I like to maybe showcase a few what I like to call trade arounds. These are ones that got stopped out, but then ended up producing some decent secondary, or as Steve would say, second mouse gets the cheese type plays. We're just not seeing a whole lot of action here. You can see on the stop hits, most of them are finishing the day right at my stop loss level of 100. This one was double. This one, not even really that good of a candidate. But typically what I like to point out is if we shorted the stock right here, ON was a short call right here. And then what do? We quickly bounced up to that stop level. All right. Came back down to the entry line again, popped back up to the stop level. So even though the stop level was pretty much acting like a pivot point all the way up here, it was way too noisy, especially seeing it come back up here. Sure, we could have tried to short it again above 36.14 and try to play this little range here. But that's only a 25 cents in between here and here. So just not a whole lot of a trade around. Well, actually not any good trade around opportunity in any of these plays that got stopped out today. So just kind of a lackluster day for the AI. Just not a whole lot to comment on today. Just we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I think we can all relate because, hey, we all have blotters that look like this on our own from our own manual trading from time to time. And then we just go, well, just wasn't on today, wasn't in the right stuff. Try again tomorrow. All right, so that's it for Holly. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to revisit all the price alerts that were handed out last Monday, okay? And if you guys remember, just look at the daily here. Guess which day was last Monday? That was this guy right here, the 4th, okay? And what do we do as far as price alerts go on that day? The theme was, okay, let's target some stocks that were strong on an up day, and let's set some price alerts and see what happens. And the top list that I used for that were this little guy right here, up today, just looking at stocks that are up today, and also one of Steve's creations, the A table. All right. So how did those things pan out? Well, here's my price alert window right here. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 price alerts handed out. Interestingly enough, they all triggered. I didn't think they would all trigger, but they all did, and they all did pretty good. This is the point total as of the close today, but at its peak last week, and we might have even been a little bit higher here. I was just keeping tabs, and I'm like, that looks like a pretty good number there. So at one point, these 8 price alerts were producing a total of 27 points before we had a little bit of a pullback, obviously today, and could have been a little bit of pullback on Friday as well, but not too bad on 8 signals. PRMW ended up triggering. It's just probably the one that's actually down a little bit right now. But I will say I'm probably going to continue to monitor this one because it's just chopping along in this little range up here at the top on the daily. 10 periods trying to keep it under control. What do we got on the weekly here? Pardon me, I keep stepping on my windows here. And GoTo does not like to give it back. So what we're going to do, we're going to kick the intraday out for a minute. We're going to have daily over here on the right, and we're going to have weekly over here on the left. Okay. And we'll just take a look at the longer term charts as we go through these and go through some of the new ones that we're going to produce here in just a momento. So clearly the big winner was the Suave. Notice what it was doing on the weekly when we set the price alert there. Punched through, did quite well. Let me just get these in a little bit more parity here. Okay, so what do we have? We had this pattern going on the daily. Nice tight, little range break there. At the same time coinciding with this level over here. So Suave was the big winner. I think that one was up 17 points at one point in time, but not a bad percentage tally from a lot of these guys here. Okay, and it was a relatively simple type of, it's just basically playing the breakout. WSC was another good one there. PGNY, not lighting it on fire, but working nonetheless. AXNX doing well. Eli doing good still as well. CWEN. So not a bad little list of price alerts. So we're going to try to do the same thing today. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is drag these two windows over and we'll get busy. Where'd my cheat sheet go though? Because I've been plotting through these all day, picking up the ones I think look the best. All right, so let's do this. We're going to get rid of all of these. And of course, past performance is no indication of potential future performance. And once again, we're going to create these price alerts, but keep in mind, guys, you're not just going to jump into them blindly, okay? When you see a price alert go off, size it up. If you like it, remember, you always have to use proper risk management. And just a general rule of thumb here, the green line is the 10 period on both the weekly and the daily. So when you see these alerts trigger, run the calculation and go, okay, if I'm using the green line or my 10 period as an exit, how many points away is that from the current, potential entry? And, adjust accordingly. Of course, you don't have to use the 10 period. You might want to use just something that looks like a little tight consolidation on the chart. For example, CWEN could have used the green line here, which is the 10 period, or if you want a little bit tighter, you could have used some of the candle bodies or whatever feels appropriate for your risk tolerance. I think everybody gets what I'm saying there. All right. So what we're going to do here is set some price alerts. Let me just see Jeff's question here. Yeah, Go Cool. How do you get a price alert? Well, what we're going to do here, I'm going to set a bunch of price alerts, and then using our cloud functionality, I'm going to share them out to you guys. So once you get that cloud link, you'll load it up and you'll have all of these price alerts. And at the same time, you're going to get to see how you can set price alerts for yourself. Okay, so without further ado, let's get busy here. Okay, so from the A table, and keep in mind, stocks are always coming on to a top list and dropping off. So some of the ones that we might be setting here, you're not going to see them on here at the close, but they were on here earlier in the day. So Halo was present earlier in the day. Once again, we got the daily over here. It's tried a couple times to pop out here. Took a little leg down today. I like what we got going on this closing candle here with this, well, we call that a doji. It's maybe just a little bit off, but I like the wick action and the adherence to the 10 period. Over here, we have what's going on the weekly. All right. So for me, I'm going to use this candle body right here, or roughly speaking, the top of that candle body, to create a price alert right at the 43.70 level. And when I'm doing this, I'm always going to put a note in here to notate what alert window generated it. Okay, so there's one, and I forgot who it was asking the question. Now you can see I now have an active working price alert in there. And we can just set all these right off of the chart here. Okay, so that's one from the A table, Halo. RCUS was another one from the A table today. And we're not quite at all-time highs on this one, but that's okay. I like what's happening here. I like how it reacted on the weekly when it went down here and touched the 10 period. And now we can see it had a little bit of hold on. I keep forgetting because I'm so used to having my 15-minute chart over here, not my daily. I'm like, what is wrong with this chart? Okay, so we're still well above the 10 period here. We kind of came over here and just tickled this level today. What was that high? 33.10. And we got up to 33.12 today. So we did get above it today. And then we backed off. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to use the high of that candle, 33.11. And once again, I'm always going to put the name of the table in there. Some of these are going to be punching out to all-time highs. Some of them are going to have a little bit of room. Over here, looking at the weekly, if we do get through here with a little bit of fervor, all right, then we don't have too much room to go before we punch all-time highs. So we've got a little bit of potential profit area in here. We can see where it's been before, and then we have the added benefit of potentially a breakout occurring at some point, which is nice when you're already in them and they do that, as opposed to just playing the breakout itself. All right, let me look at my list here. What's next? CDLX. Okay, once again, nice and tight on the weekly. I like the wicks that are occurring on the prior 2 weeks. And we've got some nice tight action on the daily as well. So let's check this out real quick. It's 148.88, I believe. Hold on. I think I put the wrong number in there. So let me just re-verify here. Tell you what, we're just going to use the high of this candle here, 150.46. Yep, okay, there we go. And that is quite a ways away. Of course, this is a large dollar stock, closed the day at 140 bucks. So, it doesn't really matter if it occurs tomorrow, the next day, a week from now. This is a very crucial level, so we're going to leave that in there. Make sure none of these are triggering an aftermarket. All right. CDLX. Okay. Sage. All right, so this thing's tightening up nicely on the weekly as well. We got above these levels here. If I squish this up a little bit more, you can see going way back here, we've got some levels of interest that could act as potential little supply areas. But we're just butting our heads against this level right here. We got this big down week. And if we get into this little area right here and move sideways for a little bit and then boom, pop into this, we could get a nice little lift here, going back all the way to here. So definitely Sage is worth paying attention to moving forward. And I think I'm just going to use, let's see here, 92.49. Is that what I got? Yep. I got 92.50 written down, 92.49. We'll use 92.50. All right, we got one more from the A table, and that one's going to be this guy here. Okay, once again, looking at the weekly, nice and tight. We got a couple of pecks above. So in this one, we're just going to use the high of today, which I believe is 28.41. Yep. And I got 28.50, so just letting it get through by a little bit. We'll just use the 28.50 level. Yeah, Candy, audio is active. If you cannot hear, or I don't know why I'm talking to you if you can't hear. Sorry about that, Candy. Yeah, Jim. So as we're setting these price alerts, that is the signal. When you see these things fire off and become active, that is the time to hit them if you like what you're seeing. Now, these are all what I like to call immediate action alerts. Well, I guess they all are, but they're not pullback alerts. Okay, these are all going with the momentum. Okay, what we're seeing over here on the weekly, and coinciding with the daily as well. So when you get the price alerts, that is, you either say yes or no on that. Okay, pullback's the same because the stock will be pulling back, but we haven't set any pullback alerts. Okay, so that's all that I mustered from the A table today. And then the rest are going to come from this little top list right here, which is dangerously simple, not taking into consideration the score filter, which is one of the primary metrics in the A table, but just looking at stocks that were up today. And of course, we did start off down today. It was a weekday. We got a little bit of it back, but kind of the same motif as last Monday, just not as big as a down day. So what we're going to do here is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got about 8 of these guys. I think we got enough time to get them all out. All right. So CBSH, as we can see on the daily here, nice tight little 1, 2, 3 days being put in. 10 period seems to be in control. So in this one, we are already kind of into blue sky territory. So on ones like these, we might have a little bit of momentum behind us. So we're just going to use the high of today, which was 71.49. Yep. So we're just going to mark off. We'll have to give it a little bit of room in case there's a little bit of pre-market action. So what we're going to do is just use 71.60 as the price alert. And just keep in mind as we're doing this, when you see these things fire off, and that one just triggered, which tells me, what do we got going on in the aftermarket? Let me see here. What was that level? 71.26. I made an error. That's why. Let's redo this. Okay. Once again, 71.49. So we're going to say 71.60. What I forgot to do is tell it long if the price rises up today. Okay, there we go. CBSH. Yeah, Ron, I had accidentally put if it went the other way, which obviously it triggered immediately. All right, so that's CBSH. Next on the list, Cohu. All right, more of the same. We had a nice little, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 week period here before we started to head higher. More importantly, looking good on the daily as well as we got about 1, 2, 3, 4 days of 3 days of rest here and just barely getting out. Okay. So even with a small number of days, we're not too far above, which lends me to believe we might have more upside in this one as well. So we're going to use the high of today for Cohu. And we're going to say 44. Well, actually, I wrote down 43.79 is my area of interest, but that was earlier in the day, and we can see what happened here. So I'm going to have to rethink this for a minute. I think we're just going to go about a dime outside of the high today, 44.17. Things do change during the day, and we will just adjust if that's the case. Okay, Kohu's been added. And you might have heard about this one from probably a lot of sources. Okay. Been hearing a lot of chatter about AMD for, I don't know, what seems like a long time. And it finally popped out today, but it backed off a little bit at the close, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Here we have the weekly. You can see it just popped out today, but it closed a little weaker. So probably just going to use the high of today for this guy right here. And man, I keep wanting to think this is my 15-minute, I guess, after so many years. Probably not the best idea to go replacing time frames in certain charts. All right, so the high of today was 99.23. So we'll just go 99.25. Okie dokie. There we go. AMD. AMD, one of the big manufacturers of processors. What about Intel? Nope. Still nowhere near the levels that AMD's at. Based out of Austin, Texas. I see your question there, Ron. Ron, what is the top resistance line? So are we talking about the orange lines over here or the blue line that was just added? Because the blue line is the price alert that we just set up there. Now, if you're talking about the orange lines over here, yeah, these are just lines that I've popped on here using the right click and the markup option here for horizontal lines. Did I put Kohu on a table? Let me see. Yeah, Kohu was up today. So yeah, that was my bad. Good eye, because we already finished up the A tables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There should only be 5 there. Can I edit that? Let's see. Yeah, I'll go in there and edit that. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. I've relabeled that.
Can you hear me, Jamie?
Yes.
All right, I was having trouble with my microphone. Something happened, but I'm back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, somebody else was saying the same thing, so maybe it was a system issue. Okay, where are we at? Kohu, AMD. Okay, PNFP, next on my list. Once again, getting a nice little pop. Getting close to ATH here. On the weekly, not too far to go. Pretty sure that is it. And what a run it has had. But, you know, you may look at the weekly and go, so much upside momentum, you know, surely it's due for a pullback. But of course, we're going to consult the smaller time frame, which in this case is the daily. You know, this thing just looks like it wants to move higher. Maybe it will. All right. 10 period is still in control. Got a little bleedy right here, but quickly recuperated. Had a strong day today. And the prior high there was 70.63. Make sure I got the right thing. Yep. And I'm saying 70.71. So that's what we're going to use. And up today. All right. Next on the list. Q2. All right, once again, looks like the 10 period is in control, at least over the past 2 days. Got a little bit bleedy, got that bottoming wick going right back up. And nice little wicking action from last Friday down to that 10 period on the weekly and then snap back up. So we're getting a little sideways movement here. Let me just check my price. 130.59. And that looks, I think that might have been the high from back here. Yeah, but I tell you what, we're going to use a little bit lower than that. We're going to use the high of this candle, which, okay, there we go. 130.59, so we'll use 61. There we go. Oh no. That one triggered. What did I do wrong this time? Well, I think that was just user error again, because it doesn't appear to be doing anything. Stand by, please. Oh, okay. That was well, I stand corrected. One of the ones that we just said, something's going on in aftermarket. RCUS just triggered.
That happens all the time to me.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on there. No earnings or anything like that. Well, RCUS, we're going to have to say bye-bye to you, sir. I thought it was the one that I just said, but that is not the case. Oh, well, happens. Okay, so we got Q2 in there. IOVA. Let's take a look at that one. Just check my time here. I know we're getting close. All right, should have just enough time to finish this up. IOVA, not looking too shabby on the weekly as well. Popped above briefly today and then eased back down. So I think for this one, high of the day, I think 5301 is the magic number on this guy. Okay, that one's stuck. A couple more to power through here, and then I think we'll be done. MXL, once again, looking at the weekly here, I like the nice wick action, trying to put in a little sideways action. Still got a little ways to go, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Where do we close today on MXL? Well, is this thing getting post action as well? I see. Okay. Well, this is going to thwart, I think, my plans a little bit. Yeah, we're already at 38.87 in post market for some reason. What's the high of that candle? 38. Yep, gonna have to can that one as well. All right, well, that's okay. We got plenty more. Where we got a nice little assortment today. So 2 out of the hopper that have already triggered. Not the end of the world. And last on the list would be this guy right here, FTDR. Once again, looking nice and tight on the weekly, wick down to the 10 period and remaining strong. And over here we have the daily, just doing its little sideways dance here. So we're going to use 52.74. Yep, that's what I got, 52.75. Okay, so out of all these guys, only 2 triggered after the market today, which that's okay. Up today. All right, so here they are. Let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, originally we had lucky number 13, but now we're reduced to 11. So let me get these copied. And I'll be dropping these into the chat panel. And there we have it. Price alerts are in there now. In case anybody wanted the up-to-date top list, I'll go ahead and drop that in as well. And I don't want to drop the A table version in there because I modified it a little bit with the lifetime range, but I have notated it up here, okay? Because I'm trying to find the ones that are within a certain level of their all-time high. So as you can see right here, I'm using between 95 and 101%. So they can be out a little bit, but not too much, or slightly below, okay? So I have notated that is the modded version. So I'll go ahead and drop that in. It is not Steve's original version, but if you want to find that one, you can always do it over here at the Trader's Vault. Modified A table. Okay, so now you have all the price alerts and the two windows that were used to find them. And I think we're right at the 5-minute mark. So Steve, unless there are any questions that I need to go back and hit, we'll get Scott to walk us on out of here. Anyhow, to your question, go cool. Yeah, I'd like to change it up a little bit, you know, especially with where the market is, setting price alerts, seeing how they do. They worked great. The ones from last week, how are the ones from this week going to perform? Don't know, but we'll find out. Speaking of next Monday, I'm pretty certain that it is a market holiday next Monday. But I tell you what, while we're waiting on Scott, I will verify that.
Oh, I thought you were still doing one more lookup before I was supposed to
See if I can beat you. January 18th is correct, Jamie.
Okay,
is,
perfect. Okay, so just a friendly
annotated.
reminder. Yeah, next Monday, the markets will be closed due to Martin
All
Luther
right.
King. All right, Scott, I think I did not delete my stack here. Where did it go? Or did I? Ah, there we go. Okay. On with the
There
walkout.
it is. All right. So if you want to get a great ebook on how to manage earnings seasons, just go to tradeIdeas.com/earnings and grab that ebook. It's got some strategies that you can import directly into your layout using the cloud links included in the ebook with the descriptions. So master earnings season, go ahead to tradeIdeas.com/earnings. Got a podcast, and that comes out periodically. Trade Ideas Podcast is what to search for. And go ahead and search for that in your favorite app that you listen to your pods on. Add us as a subscription to catch the next episode as soon as it comes out. And do check out the episodes we published last year with all kinds of great and insightful interviews. You can check out the archives. Holly New Year is a code that's good this month. Saves 15% off the first month or year of any Trade Ideas subscription or upgrade. So take advantage of that before it expires. And you can follow Jamie on Twitter at QuantBot. Steve Gomez is at Today Trader. We've also got at Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas Pro is the Facebook page to like and share stuff with your friends. And if you have any questions at all, email info@trade-ideas.com. It goes into our help desk software. It doesn't get lost. It goes to the appropriate team member to get you your answer as soon as possible. And this recording of this webinar session will be up later on tonight or tomorrow morning. You'll get an email from GoToWebinar tomorrow with a link to the playlist where you can locate it. Thank you, Jamie and Steve. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Steve and Scott. And we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.